Hey everyone, I'm Jason, and this is your commentary on Genesis chapter 26. There was very little food in the land. The same thing had been true earlier in Abraham's time. Isaac went to Abimelech in Gerar. Abimelech was the king of the Philistines. The Lord appeared to Isaac. He said, "Do not go down to Egypt. Live in the land where I tell you to live. Stay here for a while. I will be with you and give you my blessing. I will give all of these lands to you and your children after you, and I will keep the promise I made with an oath to your father Abraham. I will make your children after you as many as the stars in the sky, and I will give them all these lands. All nations on earth will be blessed because of your children. I will do all of those things because Abraham obeyed me. He did what I required. He kept my commands, my rules, and my laws." So Isaac stayed in Gerar. The promise that was given to Abraham is now being passed down to Isaac. Isaac is being blessed because of what his father had done. We'll find out in just a moment that kind of goes both ways, though. The responsibility of the father, it can be a blessing, but it can also be a curse to the children. The men of that place asked him about his wife. This is Isaac. He said, "She's my sister." He was afraid to say, "She's my wife." He thought, the men of this place might kill me because of Rebekah. She's a beautiful woman. See what I mean? Isaac falls into the exact same trap that Abraham did. Instead of saying the truth that Rebekah is his wife, he says that Rebekah is his sister. Isaac had been there a long time. God said, "Stay there for a little while." And Isaac decides to set up camp and dwell there. So he's staying there for a long time. One day, Abimelech, the king of the Philistines, looked down from a window. He saw Isaac hugging and kissing his wife Rebekah. So Abimelech sent for Isaac. He said, "She's really your wife, isn't she? Why did you say she's my sister?" Isaac answered him, "I thought I might lose my life because of her." Then Abimelech said, What have you done to us? What if one of the men had sex with your wife? Then you would have made us guilty." So Abimelech gave orders to all of the people. He said, "You can be sure that anyone who harms this man or his wife will be put to death." Isaac planted crops in that land. That same year he gathered 100 times more than he had planted. That was because the Lord blessed him. Isaac became rich. His wealth continued to grow until he became very rich. He had many flocks and herds and servants. Isaac had so much that the Philistines became jealous of him. So they stopped up all of the wells the servants of his father Abraham had dug. They filled them with dirt. Then Abimelech said to Isaac, "Move away from us. You've become too powerful for us." So Isaac moved away from there. He camped in the valley of Gerar and settled there. Isaac opened up the wells again. They had been dug in the time of his father Abraham. The Philistines had stopped them up after Abraham died. Isaac gave the wells the same names his father had given them. Isaac's servants dug for wells in the valley. There they discovered a well of fresh water. But the people of Gerar, who took care of their herds, argued with the people who took care of Isaac's herds. "The water is ours," the people of Gerar said. So Isaac named the well Esek. That's because they argued with him. Then Isaac's servants dug another well. They argued about that one too, so he named it Sitnah. He moved on from there and dug another well, but no one argued about that one, so he named it Rehoboth. He said, "Now the Lord has given us room. Now we will do well in the land." Abraham also did the same thing before, where he dug wells, and the people there argued with him, so he just moved on and dug more wells. I find this passage to be kind of mirrored in what Jesus says over in the book of Luke, chapter 6. Famous passage. He says here, "But here's what I tell you who hear me. Love your enemies. Do good to those who hate you. Bless those who call down curses on you, and pray for those who treat you badly. Suppose someone hits you on one cheek. Turn your other cheek to him also. Suppose someone takes your coat. Don't stop him from taking your shirt. Give to everyone who asks you, And if anyone takes what belongs to you, don't ask to get it back. Do to others as you want them to do to you. So Jesus is saying if someone does evil to you, sure, you may have the right to argue and fight and try and get it back, but it is better for you just to let it go and to move on. The reason why Abraham and Isaac are both able to do this is because they know of God's promise. God already promised them the entire land. Everything was going to belong to them. So what did they have to worry about? They didn't have to prove their ownership or their right to anything. They didn't have to argue about it. All they had to do was trust God. And so they were able to move on because it allowed for everything to be more peaceful, which in a moment you'll see is actually even more of a blessing. Alright, so it says here, then Isaac's servants dug another well. They named it Rehoboth because they finally had room. From there, Isaac went up to Beersheba. That night the Lord appeared to him. He said, I am the God of your father Abraham. Do not be afraid. I am with you. I will bless you. I will increase the number of your children because of my servant Abraham. Isaac built an altar there and worshipped the Lord. There he set up his tent, and there his servants dug a well. Unlike the previous times where he kept digging wells and then having to move on, he originally settled down in an area that he was not told to settle down in. Now he moved on, and God says he's going to bless him. And the first thing he does is sets up an altar and worships the Lord. As soon as he does that, he sets up a tent. He finally can dig a well and settle down. It says during that time, Abimelech had come to him from Gerar. Ahuzeth had come with him, so had Phicol, Abimelech's army commander. Ahuzeth was Abimelech's personal advisor. Isaac asked them, Why have you come to me? You were angry with me and sent me away. They answered, We saw clearly that the Lord was with you. So we said, we should make an agreement by taking an oath. The agreement should be between us and you. We want to make a peace treaty with you. Promise that you won't harm us. We didn't harm you. We always treated you well. We sent you away in peace. Now the Lord has blessed you. So, yeah, they sent him away. They didn't harm him when he was there, but they weren't exactly the most peaceful. Isaac acted peacefully. Isaac trusted God, and God blessed him for it. And now the nations around him are coming to him, asking for Isaac to bless them as well and to set up a peace treaty with them. Then Isaac had a big dinner prepared for them. They ate and drank. Early the next morning the men made an agreement with an oath. Then Isaac sent the men of Gerar on their way, and they left in peace. That day Isaac's servants came to him. They told him about the well they had dug. They said, We found water. So he named it Sheba. To this day, the name of the town has been Beersheba. Okay? So like I said, God's finally blessing Isaac because Isaac is listening to God. Isaac is a man of peace, and so God is blessing everyone around Isaac as well. As believers, if we get too close to the world, if we look too much like them, if we try and defend our own right and everything, then it gets kind of muddled, and we lose our ability to have a testimony with them. This is exactly what happened with Lot. Remember? Lot moved too close to Sodom and eventually moved into Sodom, and he ended up losing his testimony. And when he was there, when he finally tried to speak up and say what was right, the people of that place said, Who are you to judge us? You know, they weren't having any of it. And yet here, Abimelech is going to Isaac saying, Please, give us a peace treaty, because they want to work that out. So two vastly different ways to approach the world. Alright, verse 34, When Esau was 40 years old, he got married to Judith. She was the daughter of Beeri the Hittite. He also married Basemath. She was the daughter of Elon the Hittite. Now the Hittites were pagans. They were a completely different religion from Jacob and Esau, Isaac and Abraham. Isaac and Rebekah became very upset because Esau had married Hittite women. There's constantly throughout the Bible, it says not to intermarry, and it's not because of a race issue. It's because of a worldview. They don't want you to marry someone who has a different worldview than you and will eventually pull you away from God. So you're supposed to be marrying someone who's going to help you get closer to God. That's the ideal spouse right there. This just further goes on to show that Esau, he didn't really care about his birthright because he was the oldest son. He was supposed to have the promise that was given to Abraham and then to Isaac, and it was supposed to go through him, the Messianic promise. But it didn't go through to him because he sold it to Jacob for a bowl of soup. He didn't value it at all, and he doesn't value the structure that the family has in place in order to keep God at the center because he's marrying pagan women as well. So this is like strike two for Esau. Alright, well that is it for commentary on Genesis chapter 26. Thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you guys next time.